Hey, what's up guys and welcome back to Anime King, and today I'm going to be giving you part 2 of What If Naruto was given a gift that will change everything. Remember to get this one to 300 likes as usual, share this to all of your friends in social media platform, and also stay tuned for the rest of the what ifs coming your way. I hope you guys enjoy each and every one of them. And remember, if you're new and this is the first time you hear my voice and you enjoy the videos on both Anime King and Anime King 2, go ahead and click that red subscribe button and become a part of the Anime King family. And thank you for all for helping and support. And remember to comment down below and tell me if you're new. I'll be replying and talking back to all of you and thanking you personally. So yeah guys, without further ado, what do you say we begin this new episode? Start the intro. So, the last time we left off, the residual chakra of Kushina that was inside of Naruto, as she reformed herself, as she came out to stop the Kyuubi from causing Naruto any more harm. He's been through enough, as both of them start to fight, but he was just too much for her, as he was able to overpower her and knock her down. As she sent two chains off into the dark depths of the mindscape, he didn't know what they were for, but he still grabbed her. As her chakra was fading away, he then pumped his own malicious chakra into her as her body started to reform, before she cried out in pain as he was not done playing her yet. As Naruto arrived in the mindscape after feeling intense pain and passing out. As he met the fox, Naruto understand now why the people hate him so much, but he was him, and he was not the fox, so why they hate him he didn't really understand the same way. As a man pushed him on the road, Naruto lost it as he got angry as chains exploded out of him and slaughtered the man. As Naruto saw the light leave his eyes, that scare that the man felt, he loved it. As another woman came, as Naruto ended up slaughtering her when she stopped, as she called him a monster and started to run. As the chains ripped through her, Sarutobi heard about it as things were going AWOL. Things were really bad as Naruto went to the academy. As he was faced to fight Sasuke, Naruto beat Sasuke badly and threw him around the chains. Even walking around the village with the chains, people feared him as he stabbed one of the chains through Sasuke's leg. Sarutobi decided to pull him from the academy because at the moment he is not suited. As an Anbu team came out, as Naruto thought that he was going to die, but they didn't kill him. As he met them, he was going to be a part of this team from now on. As they went through numerous protocols, as Naruto found out that he had a lot of chakra, must be because of the fox, but he had a lot of chakra. When the chain was severed at the base of it, he felt extremely weak, but other than that, the chain became an extension of his body. As a mingle was going on in the Inazaka compound, as Naruto went there, as he quickly separated two girls and smashed them down. As he could have viewed a better way, but that was the way that he dealt with it. They went on a mission as they went outside the village. When the captain leader saw that Naruto was not there, he wondered what was going on. But when they arrived at the campfire, smoke was everywhere, as Naruto had slaughtered everyone, leaving two of them as he was slowly killing them, enjoying the kill. The leader came there and told him, well, the emotion that he was supposed to feel. He was supposed to find it himself. But Naruto didn't really understand as he came back. As a girl on the team, Nazumi came to Naruto. She was rather weird, always taking her sentence slow as she told him to follow her, as she made her way outside. She then told him that he's too reliant on his chains, as she slapped the chakra suppressant seal on him. As Naruto collapsed to the ground, as she pulled out a blade. So yeah guys, so it's basically as we left off. You guys can switch across to the page and check it out for yourself. So, what do you say begin this new episode? What is this? Said Naruto. Chakra suppressor. Naruto grit his teeth as he forced himself to his feet. The shock was tremendous, but once it passed, he could actually move around again. He felt as feeble as a toddler, and his entire body was cold, but he could move. As Nazumi held out the sword towards him, and for a while he just glared at the blade. He knew if he was just going to rip the tag off his back, Nazumi would try to stop him. After a while, she tilted her head as she pointed towards herself. Sensei, she said. As she pointed towards Naruto. You, student. Naruto grimaced as he grabbed the sword away from her. Fine, fine. Let's just do this, he said. She seemed to bounce on her feet for a moment in almost childish excitement. He couldn't see her expression because of the mask, so it was rather weird. As he looked at the blade in his hand, he has never held one before. But as he felt it, as he ran his hand over the steel and the hilt, it felt so familiar. It was almost like it's... Naruto cried out in pain. Nazumi's eyes widened as Naruto collapsed on the ground, holding on to his head as he started to scream, as his other hand closed tightly around the blade, as blood started to leak from his palm, as everything went black. Naruto found himself taking in long breaths. As he calmed himself, it was a cold night as a mist escaped his mouth. In front of him, he had a long blade. His blade was not for decorating, it was for killing, as the few scratches along the stream showed that well enough. As he took another long breath, as he focused himself, looking from his perspective, it seemed like he was splitting the waterfall in two. As he took a step forward, as his feet placed down on the damp, wet ground, the slight crunch of the gooey grass was lost, and the sound of the raging waterfall. That was the reason why he liked this clearing so much though. Even though that noise, it blocked out everything else, it was still better and it was easy to focus. His foot pressed down completely and then he moved. Stab, sidestep, sweeping, diagonally up. Jump back, block from the left with a dodge to the right and swing. As he slashed so fast, his blade left a silver trail in the air. More stabs as he brought down his opponents. Seeing the enemy in front of him, they weren't really there, but he was taking them down swiftly and quick. As he spun towards his final two attackers and sweep out with their legs. As he took them up with a swipe and a stab forward. As he flicked the imaginary blood from his blade and resheathed it in one quick motion. His breath was calm and deep. Even after hours of practice, he just felt a bit winded. As his eyes traveled up to the moon, hanging down, it seemed to just be watching his practice. He then heard a sudden slow clap from behind. Wow. As he turned slowly. As Naruto rubbed the back of his hair nervously. What? That was nothing, believe it. The young, blonde-haired boy from across the clearing smiled at him. As he stepped forward, are you kidding me? They won't know what hit them in the tuning exams. As Naruto ran a hand through his long, red hair. As the blush on his cheeks intensified. As the boy across from him smiled. As he smiled back. Damn right, believe it. The boy chuckled. You will never change, now would you? Kushi. Naruto jumped out of his sleep. What the hell? As his heart was beating rapidly. As he took in a full breath of air. What he just saw. No, what he just lived. Was that a vision? A memory? It was a memory, but that memory wasn't his. And he was not that person. After all, his hair was not red. And who was that blonde-haired boy? Are you... Okay, it's the voice. As he turned to see Nezumi, she was sitting a few feet away from him. Her legs tucked up to her chest as she looked at him curiously. He blinked a few more times behind his mask, thankful that she didn't see his panicked face. What happened, he said, as he tried to recover himself. As he leaned back. You scream. And then fall. Unconscious, she said. Naruto frowned. Was that some kind of a messed up dream or something? As he looked at his hand trembling slightly, as he grabbed his wrist to stop it. No, it was definitely not a dream. Suddenly, his hand then came up and caught a blade out of the air as Nezumi threw him one. As he realized that it was the same one that he was holding on to earlier. On reflexes that was not his own, his hand placed firmly in the hilt. Nezumi looked at him. What happened to you, she said. Naruto looked at the blade. It was roughly the same length as the one that he saw in whatever that was, dream, vision, as it glinted in the moonlight, slightly. I don't know, he whispered. Nezumi didn't stand up as she switched her blade across the grass. Show me, she said. As Naruto stood up and looked at her, as his eyes focused on the way her feet were, where she was positioned, where her hand gripped her blade, his feet then moved apart, in strange movements that he never really practiced before, but he felt like he'd done that 1,000 times. Nezumi head cocked towards the familiar movements. She swore that she saw that before. Deciding not to give him time for any more bearings, she flashed forward, her blade leaving a streak in the air. Naruto's eyes snapped towards her, surprising her at the speed, as he diverted her blade to the side with his own. She was surprised. Naruto was confused as hell as he looked at his hands, as he wondered where the hell did that just come from. He never used a blade in his life before. and his body just react like that. It was like he saw Nezumi move, and his body just react automatically. As Nezumi brought down her blade, this time Naruto jumped back further than he needed to. It was almost like he had something on his chest that he needed to protect. As he curved out of the way, he used the momentum to swing and try to take out Nezumi's footing. But Naruto overextended his footing like he was used to having longer legs as he stumbled by accident. As his legs fell out from underneath him as he fell. As Nezumi landed right on top of him, sitting down right on him, her blade on his throat. After a moment of struggling, Nezumi pressed the blade down a bit deeper, but she didn't cut him. Naruto finally stopped. "I gave," he mumbled. As she immediately got off him, she offered him a hand, but he stood by himself. What was that? The only thing she could compare to is when she saw experienced Genin Yamanaka take over a person's body, and they didn't get too familiar with it. They would make clumsy movements due to different arms and legs, or they would naturally stand a different way because of the posture. Like I said, I don't know, when you move, my body just react on its own, like reflex. Nezumi's eyes narrowed slightly. That was like no reflex she has ever seen before. A young trainee doesn't just inherit the stats and reflex of a Kenjutsu master, even if their body is wrong for it. Show me again. For a while, Nezumi danced around Naruto, carefully reacting and watching how he reacted to things that she did. All of his footings, well, when he didn't overextend it, they were perfect and flawless without an itch. But he seemed to be using the movements of someone that was taller than him. But the way he chucked her and the way he moved, it looked like he had female breasts. Like he was trying to protect his chest area when he moved. And he lacked the flexibility for many of the stunts that he tried, and it showed. "Stop. You need to learn your limit of your reach," she said. Naruto growled as she slashed him on the arm lightly for a reminder of his mistake once again. At this point, he was littered with scratches all over for each mistake he made. These reflexes seemed to be deeply ingrained in his head, but they were wrong. This meant she had to make sure that he didn't mix it up with what she was going to teach him. No, too far. As she slashed him on the wrist. Again. Take smaller steps. Another cut in the back of the leg again. Never deeper than half an inch. Her control was perfect. There is no need to lean back so far. Another scratch to his back caused him to wince. Stop protecting things that are not there. A scratch just above his heart. As Naruto snapped as he slammed his blade into the ground. "Damn it, I'm trying, believe it," he said. Immediately Naruto's eyes went wide as he slapped his hand over his masked mouth. What the hell did he just say? As Nezumi just looked at him for a few long moments. She has never heard him use that verbal tick before. All of this was very strange for her. She has never dealt with something like this in Anbu, and she has seen a lot. This was more a job for Saru. The man was more knowledgeable than her. He always knew what to do. "We are done for tonight," she said. Naruto grunted a small nod as he placed his hands in his pockets as he walked off. As Nezumi watched him go, before vanishing, the body flicker. She was sure that whatever was going on with Naruto would pass. Maybe. Hopefully, it wouldn't affect him on missions. Time skip. 2 guards stood at the gate to a large compound. The large stone wall behind them, impressive, to deter any attackers. One of them sat in a chair as he leaned back and swung his feet. The other just leaned against the wall, tapping his blade to a tune only he can hear. Both would have been chewed out by their captain if he saw them like this, but they didn't really care at the moment because it was late. They weren't even supposed to be here. They were just covering for a bit of idiots that got too handsy down at the local bar and got thrown in a cell for the night. "Hey, would you stop tapping that thing?" The one with the blade, spear scoff, never noticed a chain descending down from behind him. "Yeah, and what would you be thinking about, Kisu? Tell me your deep thoughts, O Sage one." As his sarcastic comment, none of them noticed a chain. Another one came down behind the one that was angry at the tapping. "Hey, you never know, man. I could have this amazing idea for that story I'm writing." "Oh yeah, that story you started 2 years ago, after reading that stupid smut." "Hey, the Ichi series is not smut. It's a dedicated tale of a lone shinobi willing to cross any boundaries for love." The chains quivered to strike, but the hand reached out and grabbed them, pulling them back into darkness. "Yeah. Bones of Hot Spring maybe. That book is stolen for perverts." Neither forgot to realize that they nearly died that night. Further, around the wall, as a blonde-haired boy was smashed into the wall, his superior staring at him deadly. "What the hell are you doing, kid?" Teiko His voice is quiet like a whisper, as the two operatives were in the shadows. "What are you talking about?" said Naruto, his tone also suppressed, so that they wouldn't be found. "I'm talking about those two guards you're about to kill. What about silent, infiltration, and assassination that you didn't understand?" Naruto off as he pushed Teiko off them, as spikes grew from the chains, forcing Teiko to release them. After whatever happened to him with Nezumi, his chakra over his chains and his chakra as a boat had improved dramatically. It seems like he has been dealing with large amount of chakra for decades. "Whatever," said Naruto. "If they were dead, they couldn't call out to anybody." Teiko shook his head. Normally, he was very calm, so it was rare to see him this angry and irritated. "Oh yeah? And we're gonna kill every guard on patrol, so they wouldn't see you stopping by." "Maybe," said Naruto as his chains went into his body. "If I had to." Teiko sighed as he could somehow understand him. They were all outcasts, as they were in Anbu after all. They'd done things that many other people never dream of doing, but he would not stand for insubordination or attitude. "Listen, Karihi." Naruto winced at that word. He knew if Teiko was saying it, he was being deadly serious. "Our unit, while dysfunctional, has a flawless mission record, nearly. I'm not letting you ruin that for everyone else, just because you think you need attention. You may be just a little kid, but you're also an Anbu operative. There's a measure of responsibility that comes with that title, so start acting like it, damn it." Naruto growled, but he said nothing. "Fine," he said after a while, as he wasn't like he had much choice. Teiko was a master of infiltration, and he always seemed to be everywhere at once. If Naruto stepped out of line, he would know, and then Saru would find out, and that made Naruto wince just thinking about the consequences. The team captain wouldn't just give him a verbal grilling. No, he will send him some torturous tasks and call it training, all with that smug tone of his. "Is everything okay?" Suddenly, there was three of them as Nezumi came out of the shadows, not making a single sound. Like she was some kind of phantom, Teiko simply patted Naruto on the shoulder. "Ah, Nezumi-chan, you didn't think to check on me, now did you? That's so cute." Nezumi looked at the man for a moment, before she pointed towards Naruto. "Not you, him." As Teiko's body slumped forward, a rain cloud appearing over his head. "Oh, so cool, Nezumi-chan. So cool." Nezumi looked at him for a few moments, especially Naruto, before she sank back in the shadows like she wasn't even there. Teiko then straightened up as he shot Naruto a warning glance, then he leaped over the wall. Naruto growled as he followed him over. It was just all so frustrated. All these rules, all these regulations, these damn flashbacks, what he was not, what he was supposed to do, and the visions, the memories, whatever the hell they were, it was starting to get to him. It wasn't just an isolated incident as he hopped the wall. He had the feeling that it would only get worse if he didn't do anything about them. The problem was, he just didn't know what to do. Time skip as Naruto walked through his village as it was night. His village, that made him scoff, as he knew that he wasn't welcome there. Luckily, his mask and his uniform kept him a secret, especially when he wore his hood, his dark clothing, cover his hair. It wasn't an issue tonight though. There was a light rain, and it was 1 in the morning, so almost everyone was home sleeping. It was peaceful, quiet, and he hated it. He got used to the general moments that Anbu mission brought him, so these small little moments were irritated to him, whether it was out taking missions that pushed his body and mind to their limits, then passing them, or just eating canteen with other operatives. He just wanted to be busy. Although, having his squad mate steal his food when he wasn't looking, that was getting rather annoying. The real reason he hated the quiet, it was because it let him think, and when he thought, his mind drifted to topics that he didn't want to think about. His past, his treatments, his burden, things that he had seen in Anbu. The things he saw in his visions, on his own, they were unescapable. The only reason he didn't try to sleep them off, because in his dreams, they became more vivid, as it was even harder in there. He would see the memories of this person that seemed to take over his mind, like a stroll around the familiar village, and running through katas in a field. He sighed as he passed the alleyway, as he winced and placed a finger to his forehead. Another one. "Over here!" The blonde boy called to him as he grabbed Naruto by the hand and dragged him down the alleyway out of the rain. Already, his clothes that he was wearing was soaked through. All the same, he allowed himself to be pulled along, straight down the alley. Naruto shook his head as he snapped out of it. The memories seemed to be getting stronger since that incident with Nezumi. On the other hand, they were growing easier to tolerate. But Naruto felt it odd, because he was talking different, saying these idiot phrases, and even walking differently. He shook his head, but he then smelled something. As he smiled, something smelled wonderful. Again, Hey, old man, what's on the menu today? Naruto called out as he entered the ramen shack. The kind man, no older than 30, grinned back at him. Well, if it isn't my number one customer. As he turned back and tapped on the door to the ear of a small food stand. Hey, Akane, look who's here. As a few moments later, a young woman walked out. Long brown hair and a clean white apron covering her front. She looked to be the same age as him. Oh hey there, Tomato-chan, said Akane. Naruto's eyebrow twitched as he brushed his long red hair back, although he couldn't get angry at Akane. She was just too nice and her voice too gentle. He knew that she didn't really meant it. You know that I hate that nickname, Akane-bachan. As something hit him right in the forehead as he looked up, as Akane was smiling at him dangerously. Just as much as I hate being called that, Akane said. Naruto simply chuckled as Tuki walked over the large bowl of ramen. The normal, I presume then, for Ichiraku Ramen, number one customer, as Naruto grinned brightly. Thanks to the food. As it was demolished in no time, and he leaned back on the stool. Ichiraku Ramen is the best, believe it. And don't you forget, young lady, said Tuka, as Akane went off into the back. Naruto snapped back into reality as his eyes grew wide, as he scowled. That was usually the way it went. He would flash back to a memory until a reminder came to tell him that these are not his memories. He still didn't know who memory it was. They always cut off before it got named, but it was a girl. He could tell. He tried to talk to Saru about it, because the man had a lot of knowledge on a lot of subjects, but he didn't have much to say on the subject. He seemed just as clueless about it. The only thing he could recommend was having Yamanaka look into it. Unfortunately, due to Kyuubi, there was a standing order that no Yamanaka should dealt in his mind, as they didn't know the consequences for them to go into his mind. Naruto smashed his face into a wooden beam, breaking it as he was frustrated. He stood there for a moment, breathing heavily, as he thought about his helplessness in the situation. He was losing himself slowly, and he was terrified for the first time in a long while. But he was scared so of the Anbu. He would go out kicking and screaming if he had to. Nobody mixes with my personality without a fight, believe it. His eyes widened as he realized what he said. He sighed as his body slumped down. As he walked off, he needed something, anything to keep his mind busy. As he walked off, up on the rooftop, as eyes were watching Naruto as he walked off. She watched his internal argument as she almost intervened. But by the time she got ready, he picked himself up and dusted himself off, and he was gone already. It was something that she admired about him. He never gave up, even if he was just stubborn. She was about to take off after him to make sure that he was okay, when she felt something on the rooftop. Having an entertaining night, Nazumi-san. She didn't need to turn to know who it was. Saru, Taiko, she said, as she kept on watching Naruto walk off. I'm not sure what you hope to accomplish from up here, Nazumi. Just watching the boy won't do much. Then, what? As she saw Naruto move out of sight, and she wanted to follow him. You know, he's changed a lot since joining the squad. They may be subtle, but they're there. Nezumi nodded as she noticed the changes because of the environment. He's not the only one. Teiko-san has learned to be a bit more discreet because of his habits. Her finger twitched towards her blade. Hearing about Teiko, Kuma-san is starting to understand the limits of his strength. Did you know that he sparred with Karasu for a full 30 seconds yesterday? Nezumi blinked. That was rather surprising for the brute that had no ability to hold back. Just give Karasu some time. You may even surprise yourself. And like that, Saru was gone like a whisper. As Narumi wondered, has she changed since Naruto joined the squad? Time skip. Naruto leaped forward as a kunai hail rained down to where he was. The Kirishinobu rushed towards him as chains exploded from the ground. As the Kirishinobu had to jump away. As Naruto leaped into the trees, the enemy came after him, but the trees were ripped apart with his chains, forcing the enemy to drop back to the ground. Huh, a Konoha Shinobi actually getting rid of trees. Isn't it a crime for you tree hop? The man was cut off as Naruto appeared in front of him, ready to strike with his blade. But he blocked it. But he then staggered back in pain. As he looked down, chains erupted from Naruto's chest and ripped through his own. As the man collapsed down. What are Kirishinobu's doing here? His voice sounded gruff because of the mask, as a changer was on it. But the man was dead. Damn it. He thought he aimed for non-lethal spots. He fired at least a dozen chains in the man's chest, but he was like he punctured an organ or something. A sigh escaped his lips as he went to wipe his brow, but his mask fell right off his face, a long crack running down the middle. Seems that the enemy kunai was slightly more on target than he thought. Saru was going to be happy when he got back from his mission. This was a 7th mask that he broke in while in Anbu, and he was starting to get a reputation for it. For now, he simply pulled up a scarf around his neck, covering the bottom half of his face and allowed his hair to fall down. Even at his short stature, he still looked quite intimidating, with his hair covered in blood as well, and his entire body drenching with chains all over, flashing around. After making sure his identity wasn't too compromised, he set off into the woods looking for his teammates. A few days ago, Saru had roughly said Naruto's skills were on Chunin level. Being just 9-year-old, that was an achievement. But that meant he could be assigned to other teams now. He was still a part of Saru's squad, but he got switched up to other teams as well. As he thought about his new teammates' reaction to having Kusari no Naruto, that was his nickname, on their squad, he wanted to laugh. He thought that name was quite stupid and unoriginal, but he couldn't complain to the people that made the bingo books. He had checked. Today he was in a 3-man cell, set up to the land of Frost. For some reconnaissance, it was supposed to be a routine mission. But something always finds a way to go wrong. This time it was likely because they had a rookie in the group, and with Naruto only being in Anbu for over a year now, that was saying something. This was a girl's first real mission, and everything went to hell. They hadn't expected a team of Kiri Chunin to be there. Unfortunately for them, their Jonin commander wanted no witness to what they were doing. As he looked down from a tree branch, he saw the commander lying in a pool of blood, with another one of Naruto's teammates there, as he was also dead. As he looked to see the rookie holding out against 2 other members from Kiri, the other ones in the forest dead where Naruto dropped them. As he sat on the branch watching the young girl get pushed farther and farther back, spinning the metal bow staff in her hand, as her spinning motion was just too slow. For a moment he just considered letting the girl die. One less rookie he had to worry about. It was like the Anbu commander could refute his report. If he was the only one left, no one else would be there to tell anything. Unfortunately, the paperwork that he had to fill out was just so damn long, and he already had enough suspicion on him. With a sigh, he dropped to the ground without a sound as he made his way forward. The girl winks as another cut came in her arm, but she didn't cry out in pain as she blocked the other slam. As she was trying her best to keep up, but this was obvious. If this would keep up for much longer, she would die, and she couldn't see Karasu anywhere. Suddenly, the Kiri Chunin in front of her paused. A moment later, the man was ripped in half, one chain through his chest and another one through his leg, pulling him apart. As the other one looked on with shock before he was skewered with chains all over, tearing through his limbs as they tore him as he cried out in pain. And there, behind it all was Karasu, drenched in blood, as his golden hair set free because of his lack of mass, something that he was known for in the Anbu, always losing his mass. As he took one look at her, like he was just only seeing her weaknesses, as she saw those cold eyes studying her with that calculating gaze. Usagi, right? She merely nodded as the chains went back into his body with a rattle. Thank you, she said, as she realized this boy that was talked about in the Anbu canteen, that was supposed to be a demon, a ruthless killing machine, just saved her life. But he looked at her, as he looked down on her, despite her having the height advantage. As he huffed, "You nearly died. You need to get stronger or I won't be around to save you again." As he walked off, as she slumped down to the ground, her breathing heavy. Just being stared at by him was like having a house placed on her shoulders. His chakra was so dense and powerful to a centaur like her, it was just too much. "Oi, get up. We have to destroy the bodies." She was forcefully yanked to her feet as he appeared behind her, picking her by the back of her uniform. "Oh, right, Karasu-senpai," she said. As Naruto raised an eyebrow, that was the first. Someone spoke to him with that name. Whatever, he said, as she watched him walk off. Like cracks on a plate, Naruto had a way of touching people in unexpected ways. Well, not always for the better. Time skip, Naruto or Karasu. Didn't matter what they call him. But Karasu had to be kept for his identity. As Naruto was sitting on a tree branch, his chains underneath him as he was swinging, as Kuma was batting them like a kitten would play a piece of string. Really, the man's childishness was unbelievable, especially given his ungodly strength. While waiting for the squad to report back, Naruto had little else to do. Thankfully, Saru, Teiko, and Nesumi all flickered in on the tree branch. As Naruto sucked the chains back in, much to Kuma's distress, the other 3 members stared at them, before shaking their heads suddenly and ignoring it. That was good, because Naruto didn't really want to explain himself. So what's the damage? Before Naruto knew it, something hit him right in the mass. As he looked to see a pebble at his feet, with Saru, finger in a flicking motion. "Taiko," said Naruto. Saru nodded happily, but he wasn't the one to speak. Teiko was. We scouted out the camps. It seems that the reports were active so far. They were out here because Konoha has been getting recent reports about oddly organized bandit raids on nearby towns. It almost reminded Naruto of his first mission outside the village. But these were confirmed to have some shinobi or former shinobi behind them, some influence. The bandits weren't just organized, they were trained. Weaker than most genin they might have been, but with that many, numbering in the hundreds, they were a big threat. So, did you find the leader? They have tents, Nezumi said. Teiko nodded as he took over Nezumi again, because he knew if she was the one to speed the briefing would drag on late into the night. A lot of them, it will be difficult for even me to search through them without being spotted once. And we can't take them off of our presence yet. Naruto growled as he dropped from a tree, as a chain emerged from his tailbone and swung him like a monkey. Why don't we just wipe them all out like before? Because, Karasu, Saru said as he slapped Naruto in the back of the head, before the boy could retort. We have a confirmed leader this time. If we tip them off and he escapes, this will just repeat back in the future. Naruto just grinned, then, simple. Just didn't let anyone escape. Wouldn't that just mean repeat business for us, Taiko? After all, Konoha was a mercenary group, like most ninja was. Saru just looked like he wanted to hate Naruto once again. Konoha isn't like that. Plus, we would lose faith to the clients. Whatever. So what do we do? As much as he was growing and getting better, Naruto was still at a learning stage, as Saru was the leader that he never had, and the man knew practically everything. After another clip around the ear for his lack of proper respect, Saru started to speak. Kuma, Karasu, and Nezumi will infiltrate the camp under a hinge. You three are able to do a large amount of damage in the shortest amount of time. Stay undetected for the longest amount of time. If any of you spot the leader, you are to eliminate him immediately without hesitation. Teiko and I will be waiting around the edge of the camp to pick off any stragglers that try to escape. Once the leader and any higher subordinates are dealt with, as he looked over to the large camp, deal with everyone else as quickly and cleanly as possible. As a grin came on Naruto's face. Time skip. When Naruto heard that they were infiltrating on their transformation, he didn't expect this, as he given himself a mostly brown hair with a few height. His clothing was plain and he had a bleed on his back. Kuma went for the same, taking some of his bulk off and adding a few scars. Nezumi on the other hand seemed to be a bit dramatic. She was wearing nothing but a few strips of ragged cloth that covered her modesty. Her hair now was sandy blonde, as it was hanging down in her watery eyes. She really looked the part of a beaten captive, but Naruto realized she didn't edit any of her body structure. That was the way her body looked, her curves. That was what got them easy into the camp, as Kuma pulled Nezumi along as a captive. They were directed right towards a tent to deposit Nezumi. As Naruto understood now as he saw the tent, as many women was inside, dressed similarly, in just rags hanging off their body. As Naruto felt a strange feeling simmering in his stomach looking at them, before he turned and walked off. Then, all of a sudden, he was in the camp. It was surprisingly easy. As Naruto pressed a finger on the invisible tattoo on his shoulder, as he pulsed, struck through it twice. It was a signal they set up when they successfully infiltrated. After receiving the symbol back, he returned and made his way straight into the center of the camp. For a while, he just walked about, like what everyone else seemed to be doing. Occasionally, he passed through tents where bandits fight, drank, and cursed among themselves. And then he came across more of those tents with women inside it. That strange feeling in his stomach once again. For some reason, his mind kept on snapping back how Nezumi had seen, even if it was just a transformation. The thought of her in a similar situation, it made him feel strange, but he just couldn't explain it, this new feeling. As he tried to ignore it and tried to find a leader. After an hour of nothing, drifting to campfire to training fields, frustration started to get the better of him. It seemed more and more tempting to just flush at the leader by slaughtering his subordinates. But then suddenly, the tank to his right exploded outwards as the figure was blasted out. The figure flipped and landed with a crouch. As the man snapped his eyes towards Naruto, Naruto realized his transformation had dropped due to some debris hitting him. Cold black eyes narrowed at him. "Konoha Shinobi! Get them!" the man shouted. And with that he turned and ran for it, using his followers as a shield so he wouldn't get caught. As chains blocked the area though, Kuma walked out of a tent, the smoking tent. The bad guys getting away, Kuma said Naruto. "No way, bad man?" As Kuma shot after him. A bandit tried to stop Kuma, but his head was grabbed and crushed in one quick motion. Another one was slapped to the side so harsh, his neck snapped on impact by the force. There was a reason that Naruto actually feared sparring against Kuma, as he was hard to hold back himself, and he was even harder to harm. For a while, people thought it was a kick Genkai that toughened the man, because Naruto literally saw Kuna's bounce off the man. It couldn't be really, because Kuma didn't know anything about his origins, as he was found in a underground raid at the Land of Hot Water by an Anbu group. Even then, he was a threat to them as mentally unbalanced as he was. Anbu took that raw potential and turned to a vicious weapon that could smash through any ranks, but Kuma retained some childlike innocence to it all. As Naruto once found himself envying the man, well, that was until he saw him chasing a butterfly for 1 hour straight. There was innocence, and then there was stupidity, and Kuma was right in the center. The rest of the thugs swarmed towards Naruto's Kuma went after the leader, as they identified him as a less threatening target, seeing the beast of a man going after their boss and ripping out anyone in his way. But they were wrong to assume that, as chains shoot from his body, blood started to spray and shower the place as he smiled as he rip and tear. His chains move on their own, slicing, stabbing, ripping. His arm then pulled, sword in his hand as he blocked kunais. As Naruto found his swordsmanship to be easier when he was standing still, it meant he didn't mess the footwork up. Pfft, Anbu, we should have known that your type would come sooner or later. In front of him was a tall woman with grey eyes that burned fiercely at him. You know, I always hated those stupid masks of yours, always looking so emotionless and superior. She snorted as she jumped away from a chain that erupted from the ground. Look at you, just a stupid little kid. She had to jump back several other times from chains that nearly skewered her, but she dodged them. Is that all you got? As she looked around the mans that were free to attack Naruto. What are you waiting for? Kill him! Right, Arashi-sama. Naruto melted in the floor like it was liquid, surprising all of them. A moment later, her eyes widened and she moved to warn a few of the men, but he was too late. Chains ripped from the ground, tearing through them. As Naruto used their bodies as shield against a hail of Kuna and Shuriken. Damn it, where the hell are you, kid? Arashi has never seen a ability like this in all her time, even after abandoning Tarakor with her teammates before it was disarmed. Her answer came when a chain ripped through her chest. Blood spurted from her mouth. She never expected the chains to go so far. The remaining bandits froze. As they looked at the blood-covered demon, his hair was now red because of the blood. Run! One of them shouted. Naruto simply chuckled as he walked after them with a steady pace, the body of the woman still on his chain, as all of them were going to die. Time skip. Naruto studied the rest of his squad, looking at the two dead bodies of the bandit leaders and the unconscious bodies of the last member of their group, as Teiko had saw him trying to make a departure and knocked him out. Behind them was a large mass of women crying, as Nezumi had prioritized get them out of the camp before they could use as hostage. Right, mission accomplished. Now we just need to figure out what to do to the women. They weren't part of the briefing. At that point, Naruto stopped listening. When he didn't care about things, why would he bother? But when Saru mentioned the woman and he looked at them, he remembered that feeling in his stomach, as he did his best to block it out. As he noticed the man on the ground stirring, as Naruto jammed a chain right through his leg as the man screamed. That wasn't necessary, Karasu. Naruto shrugged at his captain with a smile. He was thankful that couldn't be seen. But as he looked down the chain, he winked slightly as a hand went up to his forehead. I'm sorry. Naruto backed up as he saw the young boy on the ground with that chain stabbed right through his lower leg. I didn't mean to. You jumped and I thought, I'm so sorry. As he was trying to will his chains to retract, he was used to them and it was like they had a mind of their own. The boy though, he glared up at her with a wince from the pain. Shut up and go get sensei, you tomato-headed idiot. This is why I didn't want to be in a team with a stupid foreigner. Each word was like a stab into his chest, and he felt tears at his eyes. As he brushed the tears away and rushed to find their sensei, as tears started to stream down his face. That was enough for the man that was on the ground, as he saw the blonde in front of him swaying back. As he pulled out a capsule and put to his mouth, Nezumi pulled out her blade and swiped, but she cut the capsule. As he was trying to stop him, as the liquid poured into the man's mouth, he smiled before foam started to come out of his mouth, as he killed himself. Well damn, said Teiko. To the side though, Naruto hand clenched into a fist so tight, his fingernails started to draw blood. These damn flashbacks just caused him an important captive, and there was nothing that he could do about them, as he cursed to himself. Timeskip, Naruto rubbed the side of his face, a small sigh. He had an itch on his face that he wanted to scratch. It was a testament to his training that he didn't just rip the mask off. No, he rarely saw the world, other than something through the holes of his mask these days. But they didn't restrict his vision at all. It had become a part of him, like his uniform and his blades. The only time he would take it off was sleep, and half the time he was too tired to bother. Right now he was in training tree, looking across the black stones with a name on it. There were hundreds, if not even thousands named on it. Each are citizens from Konoha that gave their life for the village. This would be where you would end up one day if he fell while in the core. Anbu, that died in the field, left no evidence of a form of a body. He was only recently told about this place, or rather overheard some operative talking about it. To be honest though, he wasn't quite sure why he was here, as he let his eyes drift over the names, as he found some names bearing the Uzumaki. But he was the only one right now that had that name, as he wondered if they were his relatives. But the Hokage never tell him anything about having a family. He assumed as an unnamed orphan he was given a random name, and that was the end of it. Ryo, for your thoughts. Naruto snapped to his feet so quickly chains coming out of him, but the person that snuck up on him was quite fast as well. They twisted their body out of the chain's wrath. Naruto stopped shortly when he realized who it was. Teiko senpai, Naruto said as he sat back down. Damn. As Teiko looked towards the holes in the ground. Feeling a bit touchy today, kid. What do you want, senpai? Teiko, like Saru, had the annoying tendency of correcting Naruto when he forgot the proper suffix for his superiors. But in Teiko's case, he just showed Naruto some rather confusing magazines. Nothing, kid, nothing. I'm just here for the same reason you are, for the memorial. Naruto blinked. Of all of his teammates, Teiko was one of the most mysterious. He never really talked about himself without prompting, and Naruto was the one to ask. He knew about Kuma origins. The reason why Nezumi was so obsessed with weapons, it was because of her father, and Saru was an open book if you asked him anything. He didn't know why he said this, but his mouth just spoke. Family? Teiko chuckled quietly as he took a seat beside him. On here? No. I have family, yes, but not in Konoha. Coming out here just gave me, well, I would say the feeling in the atmosphere. Naruto nodded slowly. Well, he didn't really understood, but there was something about his answer that tickled in the back of his mind. Where exactly are you from? Even with the Anbu mask, Teiko had a strange accent, and Naruto did not know it. Oh, you wouldn't know. I'm from a land out west, in the Elemental Nation. Naruto narrowed his eyes. He didn't know much about that era. It wasn't charted on most maps after all. Teiko simply patted him on the back. I wouldn't put too much thought into it, kid. It's not a great place. Just a big town. They have chakra, but they don't use it quite out there like old shinobi do here. Out there, they have some nice samurais that act as a police force to the rest of the nation. All of them are under the control of one man, who called himself Wande. As Naruto raised his eyebrows, he wondered why the two nations didn't have connection, as Teiko seemed to be reading his mind. As he answered, there's a massive swath of land between the nations that are inhabited. Trying to bring an army across it is like suicide. The occasional traveler could get through, but you would lack the resources to get by with a small army. As he leaned back, you said you had family, said Naruto. As Teiko looked towards Naruto, surprised he asked a question. A wife. I have 3 kids. 2 sons and a daughter. Naruto didn't ask any more questions as he just looked back towards the memorial. Seeing that the names started by their last name, he started to look for names that started with U, Uzumaki. As Naruto started to skim through the names around the Kyuubi attack, as there was a lot, Naruto's body then froze when he saw a name. Uzumaki Kushina. Teiko looked towards Naruto. Not quite heard what he said, but Naruto dropped to the ground his hands, holding on tight to his head. More worrying was a stream of blood leaking from Naruto's ears, and, though Teiko couldn't see it, his nose. That smiled to Kushina eat up, as a woman was talking to him. He couldn't see her face, he could see her long red hair though, as a spoon was pushed towards him. Kushina! As Naruto was pulled away from a collapsing building, he didn't understand what was going on. As he saw everyone racing around him with objects cutting through the air, he turned back to see a man on the rubble of pure pile. His purple eyes looked worried. Then something hit the back of his head, and all he saw was darkness. Huh, look at her, with that stupid face. And right here, she looked like some kind of a tomato. As Naruto looked around and sea of faces around him, as tears came to his eyes, as he fought them back, as he got angry and started to fight. Kushina, stop this! The instructor pulled him off the boy and threw him to the side. Did you hear what she did to Kisu? Tomato? More like some kind of habanero. Naruto smirked as he walked past the group of whispering students. I knew she was trouble. You can't trust foreigners like her. He nearly faltered in his step, but he managed to keep going. It will be okay, Kushina-chan. It will be okay. As he was crying, as he sobbed into Mito's chest. Mito, Uzumaki. Why did he have to come to this place? Why did he have to be the one to shoulder this burden alone? He missed his home. He missed his family. Kushina, that was amazing. Naruto felt a rush of energy as he was picked up and swinging in Mito's arms, as he had his flap jacket. Kushi-chan, over here. He turned his head as he saw Mikoto waving at him, as she was rushing across the training ground to meet him. Why was her ring finger glinting like that? Listen to your mother, Naruto. As Naruto looked down to see a claw through his stomach, as Minato was behind him, but he held on firm, because nothing was going to harm his son. Nothing was going to harm his sweet baby boy. I love you, Naruto-kun. Believe it. Naruto screamed as he jumped upright, his entire body drenched in sweat. As he looked around, he was in his apartment. As he found his mask, as he grabbed it and put it on, instantly calming down the familiar presence. He had to move it to the side when he felt wetness on his cheek and a stinging sensation in his eyes. As he rubbed them, as he looked at the tears on his fingers, there was a burning pain all over and he felt overall exhausted. This had to stop. He just couldn't take this anymore. Time skip. Are you sure about this? This seemed very extreme. And if this wasn't affecting your mission capability, I wouldn't even suggest this, said Saru. Naruto met his gaze as he reached out for a small cloth in his captain's hand. They were standing in their usual training ground, isolated from the rest of the village surrounding them. Like I said, I need a solution, and there are no other options at this point. As he took the small slip, as he got to Saru, asking for a solution of the memories that he now knew was Kushina Uzumaki, his mother. The man had figured that these things were tied to his emotions, so his best bet was to work on controlling them. Kuma think this is a bad idea, said Kuma. As Naruto ignored the man and snapped the collar on his neck, it felt cool against his skin. There, problem solved. Now how is it supposed to help? As Saru sighed, once emotions are closely linked to their physical state, the seals on the collar detect these internal changes and correct you if you have one of your outbursts. Naruto's eyes narrowed. What do you mean by he screamed in pain as the thing shocked him? As he screamed in pain again, as the thing was sending a wave of electricity through his body to cause pain. Like I said, it reacts to physical changes. The angrier you get, the more it shocks you. But Naruto fell to the ground wrestling with the collar as it kept on shocking him. This may take some time, said Nezumi. Oh, Saru said, and if you try to remove the collar. Naruto screamed out very loudly as he tried to rip away the collar. It shocks you. Oh good, you figure it out. As Naruto glared darkly at him up from the floor. Well, until he got another shock. Yes, this may take some time after all. Time skip. Naruto was now 13 years old, as he has been trailing this man for a week now, and it was one of the most boringest assignments he has ever gotten. Normally, considering a short fuse, it was surprised that he had to attack the man and kill him or to get information. But he has changed in Anbu. Saru's idea, what had been called tomato therapy, had been a success. As a flashback, Kushina's memory had stopped completely. He continued to wear the deactivated collar as he was no longer on. It was a reminder not to slip back into old habits. His control wasn't the only thing changed though, as he has grown a bit. As he had nice, clearly defined muscles, but he wasn't as bulky as Kuma. His hair has also grown out, going down, and occasionally he finds a small, red locks in his hair. His face was rarely seen, seeing that his mask was on. All in all, he has grown as an Anbu operative, and he got a lot of respect from the others around him. But there was no change in the fact that he was on their squad, and caused chaos when he went. Yes, that was just a fact of life. Almost as seeing Kuma challenge other Anbu operatives to board games, Teiko being thrown out of the hot springs, and Nezumi walking around the apartment complex, almost naked. Well, it wasn't really a normal life. As he watched the two men exchange farewells and went their separate ways, having no intention of losing his target, Naruto made his own exit. As Naruto used his chain to lift the panel and got through, as he was able to make his chains quite dull, but they became weaker when he did. But it was used for assassination and infiltration. As he was out on the roof, as he watched his target, an old man in a worn kimono with a receding hairline. The man then ducked down the alley as Naruto followed behind him. There was another man waiting for him there by a door, and both of them were ushered in. Interest peaked. Naruto slipped in before the door could close. I'm still unsure about this, Aki. So close to Konoha. Why take the risk? It was Naruto's target that spoke. They will never expect it, Matsui. Anyway, Konoha only keep the fleshling guards between them and the towns of Kawa. Any greater presence and the sand might take offense. Okay, fine. How are they? We need them to be in a good condition after all for this to take good process. Naruto's ear twitched. The reason why he was on this mission was to investigate a large amount of farmers and villagers going missing in the Hine-no-Kuni border. They're just fine and kept healthy. As the both of them went down a basement, Earth style, subterranean voyage, as Naruto thought as he slid into the ground like it was water. As his head poked out of the basement as he saw various people in cages. Is it almost finished, Matsui asked as he looked at the matrix that was on the cages. They all seemed to be arranged on the scroll, so they were in equal distance of it. The people inside looked pale and unmotivated, none of them having the energy to cry out. All they did was shuffle and moan. As Naruto realized why, when he felt a tug in his chakra. Whatever the seal was, it was draining the chakra from these people. It should be done now, said Aki, as he went over and rolled the scroll up and placed it on his shoulder. Good, I hate being down there, the other one said. Well, it won't be too many more now, don't worry. Naruto sank back in the wall to report to his teammates. Something more bigger than just kidnapping was going on. Time skip, Naruto's at the back of the mission room, briefing. As he tuned out most of the conversation, Saru would tell him what he have to do later anyway. There was a lot of Anbu operatives in this room, as the commander at the front was explaining. It turns out something more bigger than just kidnapping was going on in Land of Fire. Similar such chakra seals have been seen across the border towns. Currently, they didn't know their purpose, but another squad learned of a large gathering place for their targets. They were going to go in and take out everyone there and stop what they were doing. If possible, they will also find out who was orchestrating the events. That was the gist of the meeting anyway. And beyond that, Naruto didn't need to know anything else. Go in, kill people, that was his job, and he enjoyed it, especially when the people that he had to kill pushed his limits. There was nothing more else that he loved was a challenging fight, the adrenaline, the fear in his opponent's eyes, and the pain keeping it all crystal clear. It was intoxicating. Suddenly, people were moving. As Naruto moved over to the squad, only to be pointed to a small group of Anbu that he didn't know that well by Saru. Due to his 5 years in the Corps, Naruto worked with a lot of Anbu members. From what he knew, he could find no real link in this group, and they weren't a normal squad that he knew of. What's going on? Saru kept a firm grip on Naruto's shoulder as he guided Naruto out the other masked man. You weren't listening, were you? It wasn't a question, so Naruto remained quiet. He still got snapped around the head all the same, and it irked Naruto that man could still do that. You and I are on the sealing team. We are to stay on standby until the others perform the sweep. Naruto blinked, but he was unsurprised to know that the man knew Fuinjutsu. After all, the man seemed to know everything. Why? He asked low. Saru didn't look around as he took the Anbu tunnels out of the village. Because someone is gathering a huge amount of chakra in one place, and they're using Fuinjutsu to do so, Konoha need to be prepared in kind. Naruto growled, at least that was an improvement on what he would have done years ago. As he knew, his captain knew exactly what he meant. No, why am I on the team? I don't know anything about Fuinjutsu, as he was with a small, unorthodox squad of Fuinjutsu users, as they had taken to the trees. You may not, as Saru poked him in the mask, but someone in you does. Naruto looked down as his hand clenched, until he released a breath. He didn't like being reminded of his mother memories, always nagging in his mind, the back of his mind. He was his own person, after all, his own person. Maybe, but those memories haven't come to me yet. As Saru pulled a small scroll and opened it to produce a seal and array on the paper. What is this? Saru said. A barrier seal, said Naruto without hesitation, as he blinked and scowled. That doesn't mean I'll be much help, just recognizing it doesn't mean much lot. I should be with the others in the front line, where I'm most effective. Saru shrugged as he placed the scroll away. Maybe, maybe not, your chains have far more uses than you might imagine. How do you know so much? Naruto asked. As Saru looked at him, he went silent for a few seconds. I knew your mother, Kushina. Naruto almost fell off the branch. What? Since when? As Naruto felt his temper rising, but he remembered the collar on his neck. Even though it was deactivated, it was there for a reminder. I was in the class above hers in the academy, and later on I went on mission with her when I was tuning, and Jodin as well. When you joined the squad, I had my suspicions about you because of the chains, but I thought they might be a general trait of your family, so I couldn't be too sure. As he looked at Naruto, waiting for his reaction. Why didn't you ever say anything? He nodded as he saw that Naruto would fly off the handle. I thought it would impact negatively on our relationship as captain and subordinate, if you were to know. It was hard, but at least Naruto could accept that. The man has done nothing but good for the squad. What changed? Naruto asked. You did. You're more mature now. Better able to accept this and think about it rationally. I couldn't say the same for your younger self, especially with the whole situation with the memories. As Naruto was forced to accept that the aim of today was more different from one all those years ago. Your mother Chains has the unique property of controlling Bijus. On the night of the Kyuubi attack, she was said to hold on the beast for at least half an hour until the fort did the sealing. As Naruto winced, his hand went towards his stomach, as he remembered that memory when she was impaled by the claw. And you think my chains are the same? What good did that do? Said Naruto. As Saru chuckled a bit. If you had listened during the briefing, you would know. Naruto grunted. They should make them more useful and not so boring. The Anbu commander believed that the people we're hunting is trying to make their own bijous. Naruto head snapped towards the man. What? But guys, be in episode right here. If you want the next part of this, you know what to do. Like, subscribe, comment down below, and turn on that bell notifications they posted. Remember to share to all of your friends in your social media platform. And also, guys, stay in tune for the rest of the watches coming your way, and I hope you guys enjoy each and every one of them. But I'm out for now. See you guys soon. Peace.